What up, what up, what up? Hey, everybody, hope you're doing well. Hey, I just want to let you know, I know everybody can't always support and donate to the podcast, but hey, if you can do a one-time donation, I put up a Buy Me a Coffee link in this description of the podcast. So if you go to the description of the podcast, it'll be at the bottom, and you can just go to that link, and you can buy me a cup of coffee, or two if you want. And that would just help support the show, and I can wake up a little bit more and bring you more info. So thanks for listening to the podcast. If you can donate, that would be much appreciated. And let's get on to the show. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO, legend, and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully you guys are doing excellent and taking care of yourselves. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. And I love coming back and talking about UFO and alien encounters and conspiracy theories with you. Now, I have a proposition. Think about this for just a moment. Place yourself in the not too distant future. In the future, the government comes out and states there are UFOs. There are UFO crashes. We are retrieving them. Oh wait, we just had a whistleblower that said that. Let's say a bigger portion of the government comes out. The Congress, the Senate, the House of Representatives, the President. They all come out and say, yes, we are being visited. We have retrieved alien craft. We are in communication with certain species. These are the species that we're in communication with. But nowhere is it ever mentioned that there are alien abductions occurring or have occurred. It never is mentioned. Anytime anybody questions the government during a press conference, they say they don't know what they're talking about, or they can't talk about that, or they haven't, that hasn't come up or hasn't come across their desk, or whatever the case is. I just watched an insider talk about how the disclosure is imminent and inevitable, and the government will come out and state that we are in communication with certain species. We have recovered crashed craft. We have recovered crash and killed bodies, and we have them in Area 51 or whatever the case is, right? But this insider stated that from other people that he talked to within the government who know that this disclosure is coming, he stated that they will do whatever it takes to never mention the abduction phenomenon. Now think about that for a moment. They can come out and say there's aliens. They can come out and say that there's ships that they've recovered, that we've used those ships and the technology on those ships to develop humankind farther than anybody could have ever imagined, that they've developed CDs, DVD technology, laser technology, all kinds of microchip technology and computer technology. They've developed weapon technology. They can develop even intergalactic travel technology with these ships. But nowhere will they ever mention that there's an alien abduction phenomena. Now, why is that? Well, one reason would be that Eisenhower made that pact and stated that it's okay for the Greys to abduct up to 1 million people per year. But that's it. Well, they can't. Who would ever say that that is okay in the public's eye? They're always going to say, no, that's not okay. And that would be a revolution on the government, right? That would be a revolution. People would not accept that. People would never trust the government again if they ever came out and publicly stated that they said it was okay for them to abduct us. Because at that point, no one would trust the government with their lives, their future, their money, anything, right? Okay, so there's that part of it. There's the gray part of it. Then there's the other alien abduction where we know that reptilians, whether they're Terran from Earth reptilians or the Draco reptilians, some reptilian species does use our adrenochrome, which is based off of fear, for their food, for their sustenance, for their livelihood. And so, and they do abduct children, they do abduct human adults. So we know this as well from reports. So if that is true, then there's no way, and people can be fucking terrified. They're never gonna say that there's abductions like that, because no one would leave their house. Everyone would have like a bazooka. Everybody would have a whole bunch of guns pointed at the door. It would be total pandemonium. Now, there's also been reports of people who were abducted onto ships, and in some cases, they've seen human body parts just in a big vat. Okay? Human body parts. Humans being replicated into hybrids. Humans being snatched out of the mother's womb. Humans just being experimented upon, simply terrified on these ships, okay? It's not every ship we're talking about, but it is certain ships, and it is certain individuals who have gone under oath, gone under hypnotic regression, have gone under a lie detector test, and have testified to this. So the government will never talk about any of those experiments. Will they ever talk about Nightmare Hall down in Area 51, where they've been working on these X-Men like human beings? They've worked on genetic combinations of trying to combine humans with bats, to combine humans with other animals, to give humans different powers. And Nightmare Hall is on the 8th floor down, and it's an experimental hall, and those who have worked on it or even worked in that base have stated it is Nightmare Hall. All they hear is screams and sounds like torture, and when individuals have worked down there, they've been guided past these prison cells that these entities or these humans or these combination entities live in, and they're told by the higher-ups not to talk to them, not to look at them, that they don't even exist as real people. They don't have a soul, so you don't have to worry about them. How the fuck do they not know that they have a soul? How do they know that? So are they telling us that we can just experiment on people and that's okay? They're never going to come out with that either. They're never going to give us that information. They're not going to say we're experimenting on people and they don't have a soul. Oh, and by the way, we know they don't have a soul because we know for a fact who and who doesn't have a soul, because we have the technology to take your soul out of your body and put it into another body. You know, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. We've also heard about that kind of technology as well. That the soul is according to Brandon Kramer, a quantum mechanic liquid that can be poured out of one body and put into another. So they can clone, and they can put your soul into another clone. If you're dying cancer, you can take it out, put it in another soul or another body. These are the pieces of the alien tech, right? That's not our tech. That's alien tech. Okay, the alien technology, the alien abduction phenomena, the alien encounter phenomena, the alien ship phenomena. They can tell us certain parts, but there's no way in God's green earth are they ever going to be like, hey, guess what? Yeah, we experiment on you. Yeah, we let them abduct you. More than 1 million people a year. They're not going to do that. Okay, you got Grush out here saying, yeah, we've recovered ships. Okay, great. Yeah, you know who else said that? The Disclosure Project 20 years ago. Okay, so that's been out. This is nothing new, and they're not going to give us more information that's, you know, pertinent to what's going on. You know, they're not going to give us information that's going to terrify us. I was listening to another podcast, and the military's goal is to have dominance over any other country. they can't release information that is going to put their own country at risk or their own power over their own country at risk. If they release that information, it throws the entire a humongous part of the middle of the country is pretty religious. It's going to throw that entire portion of the country into a existential crisis. Okay, there's gonna be people that have all their stockpile weapons, and it's gonna be a fucking nightmare. Think about what happened with COVID in Michigan, where people were like going to the Capitol in all their big old pickup trucks and all their guns and all their flags, and they're like, "We're taking over," and they went into the Capitol building, they took over, and there were people that were even plotting to like take people. It was crazy, right? And that's just the public. That's just what happened with COVID. If they come out and say all this stuff, people are gonna could potentially do the same thing. You know, they could quit their jobs. The economy goes down the drain. People are terrified for their lives, or they're just gonna say, "F it. I don't believe in anything anymore. I don't believe in anything anybody's ever told me in regards to working 40 hours a week, in regards to life on this planet, in regards to me surviving, and is there a God? Is there reincarnation? Do we just die?" There's a lot of questions that whole piece opens up. And if the government ever said that they were experimenting on us, it'd be over for the government. It'd be over for the government. It would just be over. It would be over. People would not accept that. Not accept that. And they wouldn't accept even the government pieces that don't know, right? This stuff is compartmentalized. The people who don't even really know about these areas or what goes on down there, they'd still be responsible because technically they're elected to know this stuff. They're elected to take care of us, to make the laws, and to know this stuff. You can say plausible deniability all you want, but at the end of the day, people want somebody to be responsible and accountable, and it's going to be those elected officials. So it just kind of wipes out all of the senators. It wipes out all of the House of Representatives and the president, and there'll be a whole new government that has to be created, or that could be potentially created. I'm not saying I would do this. I'm not saying this would exactly happen, but in my opinion, I don't think the American, not the human, the American mentality would accept it. Now I'm pretty like chill. I'm pretty passive. Like I'm not gonna be. I would never do any of that stuff because I like freedom or my personal freedom. But I could see a lot of these hardcore, right? Like hardcore dudes that are all Second Amendment, all First Amendment, all this stuff. Like Bill of Rights. To be like, you guys lied. We don't trust you anymore. Kind of like Tea Party movement and being like, we're taking over. I can see that happening. So the government's going to avoid that. They're not going to say anything about any of this alien abduction stuff, just like this insider stated, and it's just not going to happen. So you got a question mark here where they're going to tell us some stuff, but they're not going to tell us everything. This Grush guy, sorry to say, guys, it's just another person that's in the news saying the same stuff that they said 22 years ago. I know there's some younger listeners that listen here, so if you haven't seen the Disclosure Project, go on YouTube, type in Disclosure Project 2001. I think it's like 3 hours long because it has like 20 different whistleblowers out of 400 that they had documented, and they all go up and they tell their story individually in front of the press. Go watch that. This is not new. This already happened before. So it's cool, but it's nothing. I mean, the stuff that came out in 2001 during the Disclosure Project press conference, that stuff was mind-blowing. This guy talking about, yeah, we have alien ships. Come on, guys, we already know that. So the real question is going to be, are they going to talk about alien abduction, alien agenda stuff, and what we need to do? A lot of times what the government does is they'll say, hey, this is our enemy. This is what they did to us. This is why we got to fight them, right? Remember back in 2001, they were like, it's Osama bin Laden. That's the dude that did it to us. That's the guy that took down our twin towers. We got to go after him. Bam. And we got to go into Iraq. They have weapons of mass destruction. Bam. But they didn't. And then, there's this propaganda machine that tells you, hey, these are the guys we got to fight. Are they going to do that with aliens? I don't know, man. Are they going to say, hey, man, these guys are abducting us and we're not giving them authority. We have to go fight these guys. Could that happen? That maybe could happen. Give us a reason to allow the government to go to war, saying, oh, these guys abducted us and we didn't give them proof or a treaty to state that it was okay. They're doing it against our will. I could see that playing out a few ways too. I could see the aliens like broadcasting something in the sky saying your government is lying to you. And then publish it, or like showing like some movie in the sky showing them that they were doing it all along. I think there's a lot of ways this thing could go. So, I will leave it at that. We can talk a little bit more in the future about it. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet so you guys can get about your day. But think about it for a moment. Think about why they would never come out with the alien abduction information. They might say that there's aliens. They might say that we have captured their ships. But they're never going to tell us about the abductions. That's too real. That's too real. And the government always is going to say that they have control of the situation and they have obtained weaponry from their friends in the sky that can protect us. But they can't always. As cleared by people being abducted every day. And have been for a long time. Wouldn't it be interesting, and I'll end on this, if we had on television a mass hypnotic regression for anyone who wanted to be involved, and one of the family members could be hypnotically regressed, and another family member could hit record, and then they could both, or all of them could be hypnotically regressed and talk about their experiences, maybe in separate rooms, so that everyone could have their time and everybody could be recorded. And how many of those people would you imagine have completely forgotten about their abduction experience? It would be interesting to see how many Americans have ever been abducted. Not just this year, not just last year, not just in the past 10 years, but ever. And these are just people who are still living. Now that would be truly terrifying to find out. That would be a big problem for certain individuals. So, hope you guys are having a great night. Think about it, chew on it, enjoy your life, enjoy your time, enjoy your summer. Take care of yourself spiritually, physically, emotionally. Follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. Think about a big white protective light around you. You are more powerful than you think. You have greatness within you. All you got to do is look for it. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. Until next time, guys, take care, and Lockdown Universe out.